Okay, thank you very much. Um, I remember last time F3 class we had a lesson on unending life. Today, we want to continue from there. I remember we looked at different issues about responses about unending life. I don't want to go back so much of what we people think about life after death, but I want to continue today with another question. I want to pose another question because unending life is a life after death. But before we go to the life after death, what causes death in society today? I want us to know why people, what causes death. Hmm? People die in different ways, and then after they die, they go to unending life, which is our topic, our major topic. Now we are looking at the causes of death in society today. What are the causes of death? Many people die, but they don't die of the same things. And I'll look at what causes death. Number one, which causes death, is diseases, sickness. If you look at our present situation, what causes death is COVID-19 is now taking malaria, cholera, meningitis, cancer, heart attack, AIDS. Death can be caused by diseases, and we have a variety of diseases. Sickle cells, diabetes. You can mention very many of them. So, diseases such as COVID-19, the present is killing people, and that's why we're in the lockdown, and people don't want to die. So, uh, diseases can cause death. Then, when you die, you are in an unending life. We're going to look more into that. Another thing which is causing death in our present situation is accidents. Now, accidents are in different forms. Sometimes when we talk about accidents, some people think of motor accidents, but there are other accidents which occur and people die. We can talk about accidents through vehicles. You're on a border, then the trailer comes and land on and crush you, or the vehicle knocks you. That is accident through vehicles. We can have accidents through drowning. We have had people who drown in lakes. Hmm? At one time, I think 2 years back, we had the template, is it boat, which killed very many Ugandans. People can drown in the rivers, in the lakes, in pools, and they die. That is an accident, by the way. Someone can be electrocuted, electricity. Hmm? You have had situations where maybe the wires are connected to the hanging wires, and when someone is hanging her clothes, is electrocuted. Sometimes it could be the poor connections in our houses, and someone touches and you are electrocuted. That is an accident. It could be an air crash. These are not very common accidents, but they are there, where the plane crashes and people die. That is an accident. There are very many accidents. You could be on the building. Maybe we have had builders, and somehow the building collapses and people die. I remember in the first lockdown, there's a building which killed very many people. It collapsed and people were inside there. The builders died. So there are so many Ugandans who have died in various accidents, bus accidents on the roads and so forth. So when we are talking about the causes of death, uh, that one is very, very it is a major point of causes of death. People die of accidents. And the bad thing with accidents, it kills all kinds of people. Whether you're sick or you are healthy, an accident can kill you. So there are so many accidents. There are people who climb trees, and when they are on the tree, the branch breaks and you are down. Some people fall off buildings. I've seen people who are constructing and by accident they collapse, they fall, especially the tall buildings, and they fall. That is an accident and can be the cause of death. We want to look at another one, another cause of death. We can look at the natural disaster like landslides, like earthquake, like floods. Now those are natural disasters. We don't have control over them. Now this natural disaster can cause a lot of sometimes they kill very many people at the same time, and sometimes you cannot avoid them because they may not warn. If you look at earthquakes is not a very common cause of death in Uganda, but sometimes it happens, especially in the western part of Uganda. When the earthquake takes place, buildings collapse. Now, if you are there, you can be killed. You have talked about flooding. Many times people have died of floods. Hmm? You have seen these trenches, the Miara, killing people when it rains. Sometime back, I think that was last month, there's a border man who died in the flood. Hmm? The road flooded and was taken up by the water and died. So they had to trace his body. Landslides. We can give an example of Bududa. Everyone has heard about Bududa landslides. And when they kill, they cover very many people and they die. Natural disasters can be the cause of death in our present situation in Uganda. So natural disasters killing very many people. Hmm? So natural disaster can be cause of death. And what example can you give here? We can give an example of Bududa. Bududa. Now, in the previous points I gave, we can give also examples because in CRE, examples are very key. That's where we get our SH. In O-level CRE, at least make sure you have at least 3 examples in every point. When we talk about an accident, when we talk about accidents, for example, I talked about an accident. Allow me to go back. If you look at diseases like COVID-19, malaria, we can pick an example. We can pick an example of people who have died COVID-19 in our present situation. Pick one person who has died of COVID-19. For me, I know of one person who was a big man, the former um, the former minister of agriculture, Mugera. There was one man called Mugera, former minister of agriculture. He died of what? He died of COVID-19. We have had a number of people who have died of COVID-19. So you can give a name of a person who have died of COVID-19 and give us an example. And for CRE, you'll get an SH mark. We have a number. We have this lady who was the founder of Service, died of COVID-19. And I think they buried her last week. She died of COVID-19. We have this lady of Aloysia Organic. She was selling herbs. She died of COVID-19. So I don't want to give you examples on people who have died of diseases, but you can pick examples of people. In fact, this time of lockdown, watch the television as much as possible so that you can get those SH. Synthetic handling SH, and it helps you to get more marks. Then Accidents, we can give examples of accident. Do you know of an accident which has happened in your place? Please give an accident. Give an example for that. So I want us to move on. And we're looking at natural disaster. We have looked at Bududa landslide, which has killed very many people. I happened to go to Bududa, and people told us that those are accidents. I told that now when these landslides cover people, do people move away from those areas? Someone told me those are accidents. It is like any accident when the bus maybe crashes, when someone is knocked by a vehicle. So for us, we take them as accidents. So we don't move away. When we bury those people, we still settle there. So those accidents happen. So we cannot avoid accidents. So those natural disasters are like accidents which you cannot avoid. Then another point is domestic violence. Domestic violence can cause death. There are very many people who have died of domestic violence. The wife beating, they are very common. I always encourage you to watch news because when you watch news, you realize that there's a lot of domestic violence. Husband battering their wives and killing them. Sometimes it's children. When you talk of domestic violence, it is not only between husband and wife, it is even between parents and their children. They are being battered to death. Husbands have killed their wives have killed their husbands, and sometimes the parents have beaten their children to death. Now that can cause death. There's a common example I want to give. It is not a recent example. It happened some years back, but up to now people talk about it. When you give an example, it should be known generally by the people. In 2012, there's an incident which took place between Kazini. Kazini was a major in the army, was killed by Lydia Dralu. It is the woman now who beat the man, beat an iron bat on this man's head. The husband called Kazini, and the man died there and then. Now we look at that as domestic violence. This lady is still in Luzira prison, I suppose, because was given good years in prison for murder. But she said that she was defending herself, self-defense. So domestic violence can cause death, and we have seen that happening in our situation. Another point we can also, the cause of death is committing suicide. Committing suicide through self-poisoning, hanging, jumping into the water can lead to death. There are some people who are tired of their lives and they want to take it away. What do? They commit suicide. You find someone has taken poison but has written a letter. I was tired of life. I have very many debts. Sometimes people commit suicide because their loved ones have left them, and they say they see no sense of living. So what they do, they commit suicide. Now we have very many cases of people who have committed suicide, and people have died. I gave an example. For example, in Mackay, there's a student who jumped off Mary Stewart. Mary Stewart has, I think, like 11 storied, 11, I think. Now, someone jumped off the Mary Stewart wall and killed herself. There's also another man who killed himself on Mabilis Plaza. He jumped off from the Mabilis Plaza and landed down and died. There are some people who have lost hope in life, so they can commit suicide and they die. So committing suicide through self-poisoning, hanging, jumping into water, or jumping off the tall buildings is very common and it causes death. There's a certain percentage of people who just kill themselves. We want to move on to other causes of death. There are very many, by the way. And I want us to look at wars. Now, wars are also another way people lose life. Wars and insurgencies where many people lose lives in battlefields. And I'm saying that wars in Africa continent have continued to claim lives of many men. We can give an example of wars. We have had a war. We had a war in the northern Uganda for some time in the northern Uganda. Kony War killed very many people, claimed very many people. We had had wars of ADF in the western Uganda. Hmm? It killed very many people. Now, when we have wars and insurgencies, very many people die. Very many people die, and it is a major cause of war. There was a time when the Bakonjo had they were attacked by, I think they had a conflict with the government. They were attacked, and many people died. By the way, and insurgencies have claimed very many. So whenever we have a political instability, there is a war. When Museveni was coming into power, there was a war, and many people died. Why do they call Luwelo Triangle? Because many people died in Luwelo between the government by then and Museveni when he was fighting a guerrilla war. Very many people died. So war and his insurgencies are very good cause of death. And many people have died as a result of that. So war is a cause of death, war and insurgencies. Another cause of death is abortion. Abortion in Uganda today, especially among the youth, causes a lot of death of unborn babies. This is one of the causes of death in Uganda today. And this is usually done by young girls. Sometimes they don't even go to the doctors, they go to fake doctors. Sometimes they use traditional medicine, herbal medicine, and they commit abortion. Now, abortion is how abortion can lead you to death, because if it is not done properly, you can die. You can lose a lot of blood and you die. And very many people die because of abortion, especially the young girls in schools. They want to use cheap means of aborting, and sometimes they end up doing it badly and they die. So abortion is a cause of death. A number of young girls have died as a result of that. We are looking at causes of death. Then old age members is a cause of death. Is a natural way of dying after being tired and worn out. Such people eventually meet their death anywhere, anyhow. Now, in Uganda today, what do we consider to be old age? Many times when someone is 85 plus, we don't expect him to live for a long time. The more you grow, the more you come to nearer to death. Because 85 plus, even 70, when people is 75, then some people usually say that is bonus. Those are now you are living bonus years. After 75, you are living a bonus years. Anytime you can die. So old age is a natural of dying. You know, when people get old, they develop also other disease. The body becomes weak. The body becomes weak. You have realized that today the victims of COVID are the old people. If you are 75, 60 and above, 80 and you get COVID, my dear, it is very rare that such people survive. Why? Because of the old age. When you become old, your immunity goes down. And any disease which can get you, you can easily die. If COVID at the moment gets old people, they die very fast. Yet we have had children who have suffered from COVID, but they have survived even without treatment. They just have like a cough, they give them a treatment for cough and they get better. Some people say that when the students went back home, when they closed, some went with some coughs and flu, and some old people thought it is the normal cough and flu. But in the process, the old people got COVID-19 and they died. But the children are still surviving. So what are we saying? That old age is a natural way of dying. after being tired and worn out. So anything which gets you can lead you to death. Any sickness which can lead you to death. We are still looking at the causes of death today or in our present situation. Terrorism actions have led to death of many people today. We can talk about the attack. In Uganda here, we have the attacks of Chadondo Rugby Club. We had terrorist attack 2010. We still talk about it. And these terrorist attacks have killed many people. In fact, in Ethiopia, they killed very many people. People were watching World Cup that day, and then they put the bombs which killed very many people, Ugandans. So the Chadondo Rugby Club and Ethiopian village, those blasts took place on the same day, and very many people died. You know how Ugandans love football. Very many, and people, by the way, many enjoy watching football outside their homes. So the men and the women who wanted to have fun outside their homes, they were there watching World Cup 2010, and very many people died. So terrorism actions have led to deaths of many people. In Uganda of recent, there are people who have been killed by gunmen on border. You can remember some Muslim clerics who were killed. There are some policemen, officers who were killed. For example, you can talk about Kawesi, who was killed. We can talk about Chirumira. We can talk about Chigundu Muhammad. Now, those people were killed by terrorists. We look at that as terrorist attacks. Of recent, Major Katumba Wamala was also attacked, but unfortunately, fortunately he survived, but unfortunately, the daughter and the driver was killed. Those two people were killed. Now, when they were killed, those are terrorist attacks. And very many people in Uganda have died under such circumstances, where people come with guns and they fire, and then you die, and then they run away. And sometimes even the government can have failed to track them and get them. So terrorism actions have led to death of very many people today. Then we can talk about drug abuse, where the youth take alcohol, cocaine, marijuana, which affects their brains negatively, causing insanity and later leading to death. Now, the drug taking is very common even among students in schools. You may not die immediately, but with the time, that's where it is leading you. I've seen young boys and girls getting spoiled, becoming nuisance. They take drugs to death. There's one case which has been trending in the news about one young man who was taken to Butabika Hospital for rehabilitation, and then because he was taking drugs, so the parents decided to take him to Botanica for rehabilitation. But in the process, when they took him there, he fought so hard, and I think he hit a hard surface and died. Now, we may not say that it is drug which killed him, but it is because he took drug that he went to Botanica. And maybe it is because of the drug that made him fight and hit his head on the what? On the hard surface and died. And died. I think I've been seeing that young man on the news called Mudola Mark. Mudola was a student in Essex vacation, but he was, because of drug abuse, you can give that example. He died in Butabika because he fought and fought. The people were there, he fought, and in the process of fighting, he hit his head. But what took him there? Drug abuse. I've even seen people who die, real death, because people have taken drugs. Now, as young men and women, let us avoid as much as possible taking drugs. It gives temporary pleasure, but the end result will be death. because it affects all your body organs, and with the time you cannot, they may not function, and at the end you may end up dying. Another cause of a death, we can talk about witchcraft. Some people don't believe in witchcraft, but some people do. Witchcraft, where some people intend to bewitch their friends, husbands, and wives, which sometimes cause death because some want wealth. We have seen people going to witchcraft and they cause someone to die. Africans believe so much in witchcraft that and witchcraft is there, by the way, it is there. You have seen people confessing, I killed so and so, I killed. Sometimes the killing is not, it may not even be that they hit you on the head, but they may mix some herbs and they give you and you die. There are so many. I may not tell the science of witchcraft, but it has happened, and some people have been bewitched to death. Some families have been wiped out because of witchcraft. So, witchcraft is another cause of death in our society. Otherwise, if witchcraft was not there, we don't have so many witch doctors, and we don't have people going to churches for prayers. Yeah, witchcraft is there, and it has claimed very many people. Then we can talk about the maternal mortality, where mothers and children have died at childbirth. This is common in rural areas where medical attention is lacking. Now, when we talk about maternal mortality, this is where mothers and children have died at birth. Why? Because of poor care. A number of women have died, even by the way, those who have good care. Don't think that mothers and children don't die in these hospitals in Kampala. They die. Some people die when they are giving birth. Some people die, the children die after giving birth to them. Sometimes they die even when they are still in their mother's womb. By the time they come out, they are dead. So that one is also another cause of death. Cause of death for the mothers, another cause of death to the children who are being born. So that one is another. Some people have lost life because of that. Now, those are some of the. I know I've not exhausted the causes of death, but those are some of the causes of death today. We can add on as many points as possible. We can add on other points, the causes of death. We can add on as many as possible. What on your mind? What are other causes of death in addition to what we have shared here? There could be many and more. Please feel free to add them on. Feel free to add them on and try to make sure you put examples. I want us to look at something else now. And another question I want us to look at is reasons why people doubt life after death. After dying, we have said there's life after death. When you die physically and they bury you, we believe there's life after death. However, there are some people who doubt and they're saying, are you sure that there's life after death? What shows? By the way, all of us may not be able to explain, but we believe that there's life after death. If you have ever had someone who have died and come back to life, maybe they will give you a very good insight, or they will give you a better experience. But you have such people are very few, and sometimes you wonder whether what they are speaking is the truth or not. But I remember there's a certain lady I've ever had talking that she died for some time and then came back to life before they buried her and gave us an experience. And we listened. And they did this, then we went to a place which looked like this. So those are some of the reasons and which gives us the hope that there's life after death. And also for Christians who read the Bible, we believe there is life after death because it is biblical. It is biblical that we have life after death. But there are some people who doubt. They say, yes, they have said this, the Bible says this, but is it true? For me, I don't believe that is right after. Why do you think they do? They doubt. Can we get the reasons why people doubt that the life after death? Now, under this topic, under this heading, we can have another question which says, why do people believe that everlasting life is a myth? The word myth uh, is something which may not be real. Why do you believe that everlasting life is a myth? That is a question. Now, when we look at the reasons why some people doubt life after death, the same points can be applied on such a question. Sometimes when I give a subheading, I want to also to give some questions which can be the possible question which may come under such topic or such headings. I want us to look at the reasons. Why do some people doubt life after death? Why? Why do they doubt? Why don't they believe? What makes them think that life after death is not real? It is a myth. Why do people believe that everlasting life is a myth? Or life after death is a myth? It is not something real. When you say something is a myth, it is not real. We are going to look at those reasons. Now, people believe that everlasting life is a myth because of the following reasons. These are the reasons we are going to give why people believe that everlasting life is a myth. Number one is the influence of science and technology. Makes it to appear that there is no life after death. This is because such an idea cannot be proved scientifically. The influence of science and technology, by the way, when we come to science, science does not explain life after death. Science believes that when you die, that is the end. You decompose, you become manure. They don't have, you cannot prove it scientifically. The scientists have not proved scientifically that they have not proved that there's life after death. They have not ever gone into the eternal life to find out what happens there. So people who are the scientists, people who are having who are scientists have failed to explain that there's life after death. And today there's a lot of science. You realize that even in schools, students are taking up science. The government is encouraging people to take science. Now, this science, the science does not explain life after death. Everything has to be proved scientifically, and they have failed to prove it scientifically. So for that reason, it makes people believe that it is a myth. I told you there is a lot of science these days, and because there is a lot of science, people may not have failed to prove that there is life after death. And for that reason, the people believe that an everlasting life is a myth. Now, secondly, we look at the different approaches or ideas concerning life after death have confused many people to doubt life after death. For example, among the Christians, they only talk about heaven and hell. They say that when you die, you go to heaven, either to heaven if you're a good person, or you go to hell if you're a sinner. That is the explanation of the Christians. Now, among the Hindu, they talk about man turning into nature. When you look at these Hindus, they believe that when you die, you can become a frog. You can be turned into a snake. You can come back to life as a butterfly. You can come back to life as... So for them, they say when you die, you come back into life, you turn into nature. So now when you get these two explanations, it makes people to now start wondering, which one should we believe? And people who are not maybe religious, and they may try to doubt, now who is speaking the truth? Are they the Christians or they are the Hindus? And others, but they don't even believe at all that there is life after death. When you go to the African tradition, they believe that when you die, you become an ancestor. So, what should we take? the different approaches or ideas of life after death have also confused people. Another point, death has remained a mystery and something beyond human explanation. This is because people cannot tell what happens after one dies. Sincerely speaking, if you went randomly and asked people, tell me what happens when you die, what happens? People may not give you a proper explanation. It is beyond human understanding. Death is beyond human understanding. When I was still young, I would wonder when someone died. I remember my grandmother died, and we got so scared. Sometimes they would send us in her bedroom and we didn't want to go there. We were so scared. We were wondering maybe she has come back from where they buried her and she's in her bedroom. I would imagine that. There were so many imaginations. So when they would send me to go to her bedroom, I would not go there. I said I would get so scared. Maybe Jaja is there. Maybe she has come back into her bedroom. It will scare me. Death has remained a mystery. Some people think when people die, they rest. Some people think they go to hell. The fire is burning. So we can't explain. We can't explain. If people would die and maybe buried for some time, then come back to life, we would maybe get a proper experience. But we have not had such experience. So the death has made a mystery and sometimes beyond human explanation. So some people don't want to think so much. What they do, they say, we don't understand. So life after death may not be there. Another point, some people want to enjoy life. Okay. Now, someone wants to we want to also okay, I'm going to look at that. Now, sometimes we have some people want to enjoy life after death, want to enjoy life, and therefore they want to know what happens after life, after death. Some people want to enjoy life and therefore don't want to know what happens after life after death. I'll give an example. Some people, in fact, people who don't want to know about life after death, they want to enjoy life. They say, when you think much about life after death, it has its conditions. For example, if you're a Christian, they will tell you, if you want to go to heaven and enjoy life after death, what are you going to do? If you enjoy life, if you want to enjoy life, there are certain things you have to deny yourself. You have to live a life of sacrifice. I want to give an example about the Christians. When you're a Christian, a serious Christian who want to go to heaven, there are certain things you want. There are certain things you may not want. You may not enjoy. If you're a serious Christian, there are certain things you may forego. I'll give an example. If I'm a serious Christian who want to go to heaven, I will not take beer or alcohol. I may not go to places like discos. Because I believe that people go to discos, they will do what? Maybe there are certain things people get drunk, people speak, people involved in sexual immorality, and so forth. So what am I trying to say? That the people may live a life of sacrifice. In fact, people who are religious and want to go to heaven, there are certain things they forego. I'm not going to take drugs if I want to go to heaven. I may not take alcohol. I may not go to witch doctors if I want to go to heaven. So there are so many things I may forego because I want to go to heaven. But there are some people who want to enjoy life to the fullest. And they want to enjoy life by going into such things. They may enjoy life by taking beer, by having many women. If I'm a Christian and I don't want to go to heaven, I may not have more than one partner. I may not involve in fornication. No, I will not. So some people want to enjoy fornication, sex with very many women or very many men, people. So because of that, they don't want to think about life after this, because if they think about it, it will affect their life. They want to enjoy life to the fullest. They want to take beers, they want to steal money, to be corrupt. If I'm a Christian, I will not do that. So because of that, such people don't want even to think about life after death. Now, there's a point I talked about of a myth. A myth is a traditional story, especially one concerning early history and people, or explaining a natural social phenomena, typically enveloping supernatural beings or events. Now, when we talk about it is a false belief. A myth is a false belief. Our first point, we said people believe that everlasting life is a belief. Usually, a myth is something which is false, a false belief. I'll give an example of a myth. A myth, when we are still young, they told us if you're in the village, for example, if you lived in a village life, they'll tell you you don't stand on the cooking stone. Because if you stand on the cooking stone, you will not grow tall. If you stand on a cooking stone, you will not grow tall. That is a myth. I want you to try it. Go to the village, stand on a cooking stone, and see whether you're not going to grow tall. You will definitely grow tall. Some people will tell us that, but why did they stop people from standing on the cooking stone? Because they suspected that the young children may stand on the cooking stone and they fall in the fire. And in Africa, like among the Baganda, above the cooking stones, they'll put there some shelter, sort of. And on that shelter, when people had bananas, which are not yet ripe, they'll put them there. Why are they putting them there? Because they can ripe very fast, because of the heat which is coming from the fireplace. Now, some people, and sometimes it will be a bit high. So a young boy could not reach if he's just standing straight on the ground. Now, they'll put it there. So they wanted to hinder these children from stealing bananas, because if you stand on the cooking stone, then you could easily reach those bananas which are put on that shelter up there. Among the Baganda, they call it, I think, a chibanyi. There is other myth. They will say, don't sweep at night. If you sweep at night, you'll become poor. It is a myth. If you sweep at night, what is the relationship between sweeping at night and being rich? You realize that sweeping at night is people didn't want they put that myth there because they didn't want people to sweep at night. Why? In the African traditional society, they didn't have electricity. The lights were dim at night, maybe a small candle. So if you sweep at night, you can sweep very important items without seeing them. There's another myth. Don't sew at night using a needle. Why? I think they had an implication there. Another one, they used to say that men should not sit on the cooking stone. Why? Because they will threaten that, if you sit on the cooking stone, you develop hydrocele. Hydrocele is a disease for men. Some of the sexual organs can swell like a watermelon when you sit on the cooking stone. So it scared the people from sitting there because you can get burnt. If I'm cooking and you are sitting on a cooking stone. So a myth is a story which is known, which is false, but is putting there to control people so that they behave in a particular way. When we are still young, they used to tell us, don't pound groundnuts at night. That when you pound groundnuts at night, these days we don't have those mortars and bichibinu. In Uganda we call it a chinu. Don't circle in a chinu at night. For people who understand Uganda, those are mortars, I think. Now, why did they tell us that if you pound, you call the evil spirits? And why did why, what reason did they put that means? Because they didn't want people to do work to cook at night. Now, if you pound the groundnuts at 8 at night or at 7, what have you been doing all during the day? They wanted the young children to do their work during day very fast so that they don't work, don't cook late supper. Now, someone who asked about the myth, I think you get it. It is a false story. It's usually not true. It is a false story, but people want you to believe it for a particular reason. So some people believe that everlasting life is a myth because of the following reasons. They don't believe that it is true. It is not true. A myth is a story which is not true. Sometimes, yeah, it is not true. So we have seen that people want to enjoy life, and therefore they don't want to know what happens life after death. Now, there are people who want to enjoy life by being corrupt, embezzling a lot of money from the government. They want to have very many women. They want to take a lot of alcohol. They want to involve in witchcraft. You have had people who want to say, they go to the lake, smile the water, get riches from. Those people don't want to listen about unending life because they want to enjoy life to the fullest. They believe that when you listen to unending life, then you are going to behave in a particular way, which they feel they will not enjoy. So some people want to enjoy life, and therefore they don't want to know what happens after life, after death. And many times when you talk to these people and say, when you die, there's life, say, don't tell us about life after death because it is going to limit them from enjoying life. Definitely true. If you want to for us Christians, if you want to enjoy life after death, you have to live a good life on earth. You have to be faithful, which means you are not going to be corrupt. You need to live with one man who you are married to officially. Now, some people want to enjoy 10 women, to 50 women. Now, such people will not want to listen to stories of life after death. Another point, the sorrows associated with loss of a member make it very difficult for someone to believe in the life after. This is because mourning is heartbreaking. Now, when you lose a dear one, I think any one of us have ever lost a dear one or someone you know. The sorrow associated with the loss of a member make it very difficult for someone to believe in life. In fact, I've seen very few people who celebrate when someone has died. No, they are not there. Many people are crying. Eh? Now, if there's life after death, why are people crying? Why are people mourning? Why are people fainting to the point of even taking them to the hospital when the dear ones have died? Why is the cry? Why do they do all sorts of mourning in the society? Is it because they are not so sure of where someone is going? So the sorrow associated with loss of a member make it difficult for someone to believe in life after. This is because mourning is heartbreaking. In fact, if we knew very well, if we are very confident of life after death, people will not even cry. They will just say, that one has gone to heaven. And they will celebrate. But people cry. Even Christians, I've seen them crying. Who know that there is heaven and hell, they cry because of the member who has been lost. Another reason, to some people, the issue about life after death is moral education, intended to control the behavior of human beings. Some people think that when the issue of life after death want to control people. When you fornicate, you not go to heaven. When you are a thief, you not go to heaven. So they think that it's used as a tool to control people, to control people's behavior. So for them, they believe that life after death. I think people want to control our behavior. They don't want us to go to extremes. So that's what people believe, and they think when you tell there's hell, then people will behave in the best way. So when we say heaven, people want to go to heaven, they will behave in the best way. So some people feel it is to control people's behavior. Some people believe that the idea of eternal life is a consolation for those who are frustrated in life, people who are living a miserable life. When you read the Bible, there's that beatitude in Matthew, I think it's chapter 5. Happy are the poor, the kingdom of God belongs to them. Now, for them, they believe it is a consolation. They believe that maybe the poor people may not be happy. But when they say happy are the poor, for they will see God, they feel consoled. So some people believe that the idea of eternal life is like a consolation for those people who are frustrated in life, people who are living a miserable life. They say, even if you are living a miserable life here, in heaven you are going to enjoy. And some people say, no, I think this is a consolation. They say, now, let me enjoy here on earth and let me enjoy in the heaven. Why do I live a miserable life here? We have stories in the Bible like Lazarus, the poor man. I believe many of you have read that story. Lazarus was a beggar, was a poor man. And the Bible says that he used to sit near the rich man's home. And whenever this man was eating, I think he would throw the bones down for Lazarus to eat. And sometimes he would not even throw. And the Bible says that Lazarus was poor and miserable. And the rich man was enjoying a lot of life. But after death, we realize that Lazarus was Abraham's chest. And the rich man was in the fire burning. And that rich man started crying and said, please help me go back and look what white people don't believe in the delay of the second coming of Jesus. We call it parousia. Has also made many people to doubt life after death. The delay in the second coming of Jesus has also made many people to doubt life after death. Some people are impatient and others are already hopeless. Now, Jesus said, I'm coming back soon. I remember when some of us are old people, when it came to 2000, he said 2000 Jesus is coming, and people repented and people became so religious. But the 2000 years, after 2000, nothing happened. So the delay of the second coming of Jesus has made people doubt life after death. They said that Jesus is coming to take the church. Jesus is coming to take people without any spot. When is he coming? So some people have overweighted and they have started thinking it may not be true. Some people are impatient and others are already hopeless. So those are some of the reasons why people doubt unending life. The influence of formal education is also another factor. It has made it difficult for people to believe in life after this. People who are highly educated look at life as a circle where one is born, lives, dies, and decomposes. In fact, the people who don't believe in life after this most are the people who are educated. Because especially if you're a scientist, you start wondering, now what? Formal education sometimes does not bring people to believe that there's life after death. When you look at the subjects which we study, geography, even when they are talking about the world, how the world was formed, they talk about the continental drift. There's no even God creating. So for them, there's no God. When you look at physics, chemistry, they don't imply in this life after death. When you go to biology, you realize it. So influence of formal education has also made it difficult for people to believe in life after death. Then the fear that the fear people have towards death also have made them to doubt life after death. People fear death, by the way. People fear death. If we knew that we are going to heaven, and people not fear death, but you see how people fear death. The good example has come up because when we have this COVID-19, very many people have, now we are in a lockdown. Why are we in the lockdown? We fear death. We fear death. And for that reason, because we fear death, why now we start wondering, people who want to go to heaven, why are we in the lockdown? just go, get COVID, die, go to heaven. After all, heaven is a better place. So the fear of death has made people doubt. Why, if the way we are going is a good place, why are we doubting? Why are we fearing death? So because very many people are fearing death, that has made us to doubt whether there's life after death. Some people think that when they die, that is the end of their lives. They will not have life after death. Now, those points we have just mentioned are telling us that uh, the reasons we have just mentioned up there are telling us, are show to us that some people doubt life after death because of the reasons we have just mentioned. But if they, and maybe I want to also tell you that because people believe that way, it doesn't mean that the life after death is not there. In fact, we are going to prove in our next lesson, we are going to prove that really, I think there is life after death. The way people respond, and we are even going to look at it in the African traditional way. You realize that for the Africans, for them dying, you just went to the life of ancestors. And up to now, Africans believe that ancestors are living. They even consult with them. They make them dream and instruct them what to do. So don't assume that people doubt life after death. It is not there. We still believe. So members, we are coming to the end of our lesson. The next time we meet, we shall continue from there, and we shall come to know more about life after death, this topic of life after death. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Thank you very much.